I'm Jay.
I'm Adrian.
And together we are the
Two Crazy Cat Ladies.
I'm gonna cut you.
I think I just peed.
Buckle up. We're back in the closet.
Welcome to another episode of Back in the Closet with the Two Crazy Cat Ladies and Dr. Barrie Sands for Cocktails and BS with Dr. Barrie Sands. Today we have I think something that's going to be so beneficial for
Me.
Adrian and Dr. Barrie, and I think everyone that's listening to this podcast. It is going to be super beneficial because 'tis the season. It's the holidays, and it tends to, no matter how excited
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
It is. It's the most wonderful time of the year. But we keep telling ourselves that while we're stressing about the travel and the family and the friends and making sure that we don't forget somebody that might need
and the company and the decorations and
Yes.
all the stuff and things. Dr. Barrie Sands, how are you this evening?
Oh, I'm feeling fabulous, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys and really talk about this super important topic, right? It's stress.
Yes.
And stress is underrated. It's overrated. It's not addressed. It's like this ubiquitous terminology that we all use now as we just throw it around saying, oh, I'm so stressed out. I'm so stressed out. But it has such a powerful and impacted phenomenon in our whole lives and our animals and our cats.
Yeah. It really affects our cats. We know that firsthand in this home where we tend to, especially as we get busier and busier, we as our stress levels go up, we watch as our cats become more needy sometimes, and sometimes they become more rambunctious and start fighting with each other, and sometimes they start peeing everywhere around the house, and it's a good time to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that animals and cats and dogs and people always seem to get more stressed during the holidays.
Yeah.
It's like a phenomenon. It's called I don't know. There's a name, there's actually a label for it when people get stressed during the holidays. And, the question I have is why? Why are we so stressed? And it's important, I think, to be honest with yourself and take inventory about why it is that these moments have a very high stress level, because that's going to affect your animals as well. Right. And when you can identify your personal stressors, then you can sort of deal with them in a way that it'll help mitigate the interactions between you and your animals.
I know that was your question. Why does this time of year make us so stressed? But I also know your brain. So I am curious to know why you think this time of year is one of those ubiquitous things, why is December so much more stressful than October? Right?
Yeah.
What?
Well, yeah,
why?
I think that people put a lot of pressure on themselves during this time of year. And a lot of it is around family. Let's be honest, people are, this is the time where family gets together. Families from all over the country, people travel to see their families. They're with people that they may not even want to be with or normally see, but they feel like they have to see them and be with them on the holidays.
Yep.
Right. And so I think a part of that is, that theoretically that should bring joy, right? Being with the people that you love in your life should bring the best joy in the world. But there's a pressure that we put on ourselves, I honestly, I think it's probably because we're part of us feels we're forced on some level to be with an obligation of a family situation that you really don't want to be a part of.
Yeah.
I think so. I think for people, I think that's what that's about. And sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. You've seen your great uncles and all the kids running around, and I don't know. You may have family you don't want to see, or you may not have family that you want to see.
Yeah.
Right? It's a time of reflection where you miss the people in your life that you want to be with. So I think we're dealing with loss and a sense of um, this lower levels of, I don't know, like maybe obligation, frustration, resentment, layers of that
Yeah,
kind of
I think obligation is a really good word because we're both very much like that in that no matter what it is, like we actually want to be with our family, we want to be with our friends, we want to do these different different things, but all of a sudden it feels like an obligation. And even though like once we get into it, we're very happy that we did that. We're very, it was a good time. Everything went fine. It wasn't, something super stressful in the moment, but the thinking about the moment and preparing for the moment, and all of a sudden it becomes an obligation instead of something I'm really looking forward to. And I think
right.
that's probably other people are like that too.
Yeah, and that's shopping as well. I mean, people are
Yeah.
just consuming things. They're out there trying to buy stuff because they feel like they have to give gifts, and so the stores are packed. The streets are crowded, and people are not nice. They're just they're not nice. They're grumpy and they're anxious and they're impatient and they're like, what are we doing? And our animals pick that up 100%.
I think you said something really profound, that it is a time of obligation, that we feel that way. But you also touched on that feeling of loss, that this is the time of
Yeah.
year that we miss those that
Are no longer
are
with
no
us.
longer with us for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about pets and people. And
Yep.
Talisha said in the comments here, yes, very true, on loss. Do you have, this is a very organic conversation, but
Very organic.
you are someone that has brought profound comfort to us in moments of our own loss. Is there anything that you think can help? There's no getting around it, right? Especially at the holidays. And in the midst of feeling like, oh, we have to go to this and we have to do that. We have to have holiday cheer, and we may not be feeling that. What would you suggest to someone who's really dealing with loss this time of year?
Well, I feel like the best way to honor the loss of a loved one is to have a table. Get a table and an area in your house where you can put a picture of that person or the animal, and a flower, something organic. I like to use the different seasons. I like to use something that represents all the elements, like a stone for rock, feathers for wind, a water with flowers in it, and to light a candle, right? Because the fire is always the essence of transformation, and to create a blessing and honoring that person in a very ceremonious way. And when you take the time to do that, um, it brings you a level of connection to that person who's passed, or that animal that's passed, and it makes them feel like right here. It brings them right back to your heart and in your field. you know so I feel, to me, that's the best way, to be with a loved one who's not physical.
Yeah.
I think that is so awesome, because I think the biggest thing is you don't want to focus on the loss, right? You're trying
Yeah.
not to.
Yeah.
Talisha,
I know.
love
I
you
have
so
to
much.
say, Talisha here in the comments just lost her cat to getting hit by a car on Saturday. So all of our love goes out to you.
Sudden loss is
Sudden loss is
an extra, a
Hard.
special kind of grief. And I think that's what you said, though, is so important. And she did say good idea, because I feel like we try to avoid the things that make us feel sad, or that make us feel like we're not being happy and doing all the shopping we're supposed to be
And having
doing and
holiday
going out to the
cheer.
holiday parties. But taking that moment to really do physically emotionally, spiritually, take a moment to really acknowledge how you feel about that being not being with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
It is so important to honor your emotions when they come up, right?
Yeah.
If you have sadness, sadness is a very difficult emotion, to deal with because it's such this nebulous place that doesn't really go anywhere. You're just in it. It's
Yeah.
not like well, say anger, right? People usually take anger and cover that over sadness. That's how they emote sadness by using anger, because anger is a very active, uh, doing kind of emotion. You can throw it out there, you can yell, you can scream, you can break things, and then it's like it does something, it dissipates. But the sadness is still there. And when you actually tap into the sadness, you're just kind of in it, you're just sort of like floating and wallowing in this place. But the place is beautiful because you're really honoring the depths of your heart, and your being. And um, it is only through honoring that where you're going to go into that level of acceptance and transformation, where you'll actually feel different. You get the blessings and the gifts that come from that, from
Yeah.
just being in that. So, have a vigil, have a candle lighting ceremony, and, play your favorite song, or the scented candles, and,
Yeah.
and be in that, and cry, and love, and remember, and honor yourself for loving, because we're only so sad because we love so hard.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
true. And you're right too about the anger. I think so often people that are stressed out, they get snippy, they get short-tempered, they get right. And so this is that time of year. I have recently experienced this myself with much grandeur. Um, just getting overwhelmed and taking it out on the people closest to me. Love you.
Love you too.
Um,
Yeah.
because I think there is this thing about stress that it's like you said, it's under acknowledged, it's over acknowledged, it's this weird thing, right? Like we just throw it out there, I'm stressed out, and that covers a multitude of actions, a multitude of behaviors, all those things. But I do think that the anger part, or the short-tempered part, is one of the bigger issues that comes with stress. And I know that this is really about how best we can help alleviate holiday stress specifically. We are really I think tomorrow starts the 12 days of Christmas countdown, right? We're
Oh
all
my
in the thick.
Lord, how did that happen?
We're really in the thick of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
And when I see with animals in particular during this time of year, because we're talking about animals and stuff, is cats will get urinary obstructions. Lots of cats get blocked. Male cats will get blocked during the holidays. And I think it's because, one, energetically they are so stressed out by the dynamics of the family that are happening, picking up on that. And even if it's a joyous moment, people are coming in and out of the house, it's disrupting their normal territory. Urinary issues is always about territory, and the loss of it, or not being able to have it. And so they don't drink water as much, so they get dehydrated, and then they're stressed, and then they have crystals, and then they have a urinary obstruction.
Yeah.
And so they come in. And I think that's probably the most things that I see with cats. I mean, yeah, they'll have GI stuff too, and then they have anxiety issues as well. They can do more grooming, or, obsessive compulsive behaviors.
Mhm.
They could do that. And so I think to help mitigate that, I would just, one, make sure your cat's hydrated, and make sure that they have safe spaces to be in, little recluses, hideaways for company to come over, and they could just get away. I think most cats have a place that they go to anyway, um, and to really manage your own stress, And there are things that you could do together as a human animal thing
Wow.
that can help, with that.
Tell us
Um,
more about that.
Well, yeah, let's first talk about. I really love that you spent a little bit of time about loss, because I think that is one of the biggest things that can cause extra anxiety during the holidays, is that sense of loss and not feeling like you can communicate it or spend time with it, honor it. But what are some of the things that humans can do to really stay in touch with their level of stress during this time, or identify things that are causing them to be stressed, and how can we better ground ourselves to actually enjoy the most wonderful time of the year?
yeah, well, I feel like it's the solutions are simpler than you think, and you're probably already doing them without even knowing it. Um, the the counterpart of stress is over sympathetic drive, right? High sympathetic tone. That's stress. When you have cortisols and epinephrine and norepinephrine and all those hormones of stress are just being secreted through your body, right? And those chemicals of stress are secreted by emotions and thoughts, right? Every emotion has a neuropeptide that's associated with it in your brain that gets secreted into your body. And so if you're feeling things like frustration or, anger, resentment, or worry, or anxiety, or depression, or sadness, like all of that's going to start flooding into your system, right, through these chemicals. And so the idea is to upregulate your parasympathetic nervous system, right?
Upregulate your parasympathetic nervous system. Okay.
How?
How do we
And
do that?
that's your, that vagus nerve, vagal tone. I feel like that's people know what that word is, and so some of the best ways to first and foremost is to breathe. Just breathe. Take deep breaths and do it in 1 minute breaths. When you notice that you're catching yourself in a moment of disarray, I don't want to use the word stress because it's such a big term, but the moment of where you're just off, you're not something, you feel something else that's not joy. And if you catch that moment, stop for a minute and breathe. And you could do that for 4 seconds in, hold it for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, hold it for 4 seconds, 4 seconds in, hold it for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds. So like a 4-second square, just kind of do that, and do that for 3 breaths, 3 squares. And you'll see how much better you already feel after you've done that, right? And so then the next thing to do would be to create sound, and things like humming will actually increase your parasympathetic nerves. And it also does this amazing thing in your body. It secretes nitric oxide, and nitric oxide helps you vasodilate. So the act of humming and toning and singing will create the secretion of nitric oxide in your body, causes vessels to dilate, and so then your blood flows better, right? And your blood pressure drops. And then you mix that with breathing and adding oxygen to that. Now you're oxygenating your tissues with an open vasculature, and blood is flowing, and all the things are being bathed with yummy nutrients and oxygen. And you after that, you probably forgot what you were upset about anyway.
I have to say, every time for like the past year, every time I remember to breathe, I think about you, because you're the one that because we breathe all day long. Like if we're alive, we're breathing, but we don't.
It's involuntary.
Yeah, but
Right.
we're not really thinking about it. And then every once in a while when it's just like, oh, wow, wow. And I'll be like, okay, I need to breathe. And then I just think about you, and I'm like, yes, this is what I need to do. And telling us the steps of breathing and how to do that. And it makes me, it does, it stops. I mean, it almost immediately stops whatever it was that I was like even worried about. Not that I even knew that I was worried about it. It was just like, oh, I need to breathe.
Goes away. Well, another cool thing about sound is that, and this is something that we could do with our animals as well, is, and if you breathe with your animals, you'll notice that they come to you and they will start to relax, when you're in that, because they're like, oh, are we meditating? Are you meditating? And they're going to come, and they're going to, because they love that energy. Right. So there is, in the world of sound frequencies, everybody has a resonant frequency in their physiology. Right. And I say that and you're like, oh, what does that mean? But you know exactly what that means. What that means is that when you hear a song on the radio or a certain song, all of a sudden, your body starts to move. Right. It does something to you, and you may not even know you're moving, but all of a sudden you're feeling it. Right. And your song is not necessarily Adrian's song.
Right.
Right. Adrian may be jamming out to some other song, and you're like looking at her like, what do you I don't feel it. I don't feel that. Right. And the reason why you don't feel that is because that's not your resonant frequency. Right. So there's a really cool word for that. It's called an eigentone.
Eigentone?
Eigentone. And an eigentone is a resonant frequency of an individual. Everyone has a specific frequency. And this frequency is a mixture of all these harmonics. It's not just one frequency. It's like a symphony inside of yourself, right? And when you listen to a song that resonates with your particular eigentone, your body will naturally start to heal. And it will go into that parasympathetic state of healing, because now all the cells and all the organs and all the systems are like, they're moving into that phase. I mean, you know that, like, I don't know if you guys can, if you think of a song that when you start listening to it, you might feel like tingling in your body, or it takes you in another place. Like your mind just becomes sort of dreamy, or, when you're listening to that song, that's the song.
Can I just say, Beethoven's Seventh Symphony second movement, I remember listening to it on the floor in my folks' house, probably 7 or 8 years old. And I remember thinking, I totally lost it felt like I was levitating. Couldn't feel my body. It was just off the ground. Like I had to push down on the ground to feel that I was still on the ground. Eigentone. Interesting.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
I was going to say that I believe that every animal has their own personal eigentone as well.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go back to what you said about, and you're so spot on about this. And I think especially with cats, we've never had a dog, but I know dogs are also very sensitive. I think cats, though, are extraordinarily aware of energy. And I even heard someone explain it as they see the energy of someone before they recognize who it is.
Who the person is.
Right. I remember coming home from work years ago and being very stressed out, and my cats reacting as if a stranger walked in their house.
Yep.
Like fur puffed at me. And I was like, ooh, I need to go take a shower and wash all this cortisol off, something, right? Because my energy was so terribly off.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned a moment ago about when we do have that moment where we realize we're not experiencing joy, and we take 1 minute and we do square breathing. And I visualize it, that like Jay said, every time that I've done this, in those moments, I do think about you and how you taught us square breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And how our animals will come to us. Why is it that they love that meditative state so much? I mean, I do think that they're so sensitive to energy, but that they're literally drawn to it when we are engaging in that energy.
I think that's because that's one of their resonant frequencies. So if you, it's like, it's the law of attraction, right? So if you're say you're going like this, and they're going like this, or they're like this, and then you're like this, they're
Yeah.
gonna be like, they're not gonna come to you, right? They're not gonna be attracted to that. But when you're in the same frequency as them, or that
Yep.
same resonance, then there's that connection.
That like
And,
attracts
and
like.
yeah, and you meet resonance. Energy is always looking for synergy.
Say that again.
Energy is looking for synergy everywhere. So that's why manifestations, or that's the principle of manifestations. When you have this intention that you put out there in the world with an elevated emotion, and it's broadcasting a certain frequency into the universe, whatever is that same frequency is going to come to you.
Right.
Right. And it could be bad or it could be good. It doesn't matter. It's just a frequency.
Yep.
If you wake up in the morning and you're all angry, you'll probably end up stubbing your toe and locking yourself out of the house, or getting cut off in the supermarket, or it's like things are just going to happen that's going to match that.
Yep. Wow.
I love it. I love. We spent a lot of time in our lives at one point with someone that we called Eeyore.
Yeah.
And this person constantly said, well, what else can go wrong today? Well, what else can go wrong?
It was my
today?
uncle. And he was, and he was like,
And it was
literally every day when he walked in, it was like, hey, how you doing? Well, just waiting to see what fires I got to put out today. What else?
And it was extraordinary. How many things
went wrong?
His
car always broke down. He would get in a wreck. Somebody it was always like, and it was
daily.
Watching it. And it was at the same time that we were learning about, and this is years and years ago, but it was at the same time that we were learning about the law of attraction.
What you think about, you bring about.
Right. And we were literally watching it happen right in front of us. We were like, oh my God. And it was, everybody else was like, oh, he just has the worst luck.
No.
I'm like, no.
Right. We are participants, in our reality, and we can craft our destinies.
Yep.
We're just not innocent bystanders of things. We can make stuff happen. And but however, with cats and stress, I wanted to talk a little bit about, because we're talking about sound frequencies, I wanted to talk about purring.
Oh my God. Friday was just in my lap and she was purring so hard. And I was just like, oh, this is so nice. Tell us.
It's so delicious, right? There's a deliciousness about purring that you can't deny. And the cat knows it too, right? They purr for themselves as much as they purr for us.
Yep.
So, the harmonics of a cat's purr falls between 20 to about 40 to 120 hertz. That's the frequency of a cat's purr. And why that's relevant is because our bodies heal within those frequencies, those lower frequencies of 40 to 110, 120 hertz is where our bodies respond the most to healing frequencies when we're using sound therapies and vibrations and things. And so it just seems kind of cool, and that it's a natural harmonic for these cats that helps us. It helps our cardiovascular system. It lowers our blood pressure. It decreases our hormones, our cortisol levels, helps balance out the good hormones as well. And cats will purr when they're sick to help heal themselves.
I was going to say, important to note that, you always think a cat's purring when they're happy or when they're trying to love you. And it was fascinating when we started learning about this frequency, and we've got a little something that you shared with us. I'd like to pull up so everyone can experience the deliciousness, as you said.
Yeah. So before we show that, what I wanted to explain a little bit is about cymatics. We're going to show a video. You guys are going to, hopefully it'll work. A cymatics on a cat's purr. And what does that look like? So cymatics is sound made visible. And what they've done is that they've taken a drop of water in a machine, a cymoscope, and they put the sound into the water frequency, and then you could see the patterns, the changing patterns of what it looks like. What does sound look like in water?
What
And
a purr looks like?
what a purr, in this particular one, it's going to be purr, but they do all sorts of frequencies like voice, toning, songs, everything. But you'll see in this video what a purr looks like. And there is these beautiful geometric patterns that are very close to what we call sacred geometry. They're like 5-fold, 6-fold, 10-fold patterns that you see. And I want people to keep in mind when they watch this is that we are about 70% water, right? Our bodies are 70% water and 99% are made up the molecules of water, like hydrogen and oxygen, H2O. So we're mostly water based.
Yep.
Right? And so just keep in mind that when you're listening to these harmonics and the purring, that every single water molecule in your body, it looks like that. It's going to be this beautiful, beautiful geometric pattern that's being expressed inside your body.
Wow. Okay.
So I know
very
that
excited. We haven't seen this yet, guys.
No, we haven't. But for anyone joining us live, they're going to be able to see this. For the people on the podcast,
Just tune in.
Yeah, listen. And if Dr. Barrie, if you see anything that you want to kind of explain what's happening,
Yep.
just verbally explain it for people that are listening on the podcast.
We'll be shut off. Yeah. We'll be shut off. We'll explain it afterwards if there is anything that needs to be explained.
Yeah, or they could just, the people on the podcast, they could just go on YouTube and they could just YouTube the cymatics of a cat purr.
Yep.
Yes.
We could drop the link in the description here for podcast listeners too. Okay, let's do it. Let's see.
Hopefully this works.
Everybody take a deep breath.
Oh, wow. Can I just say, as soon as that started,
wow,
Friday was like,
she just came running
in here and rubbing up on us. Baby girl, what was that?
What was that?
That is extraordinary. You almost want to see it in slow motion.
Yeah, well, there are in I have it on my on slides, but there are probably in that somewhere. I think probably you could Google it. If you Google images cymatics of a cat purr, then you can get the still photos of that and see what it looks like in. Oh yeah, well on the top here, you could see that these are still images of the geometrics and the that happen, and they're so perfect.
Yeah,
it really is extraordinary. It's amazing to me, like how sound can be so visible, right? Like I know I forget who the master somebody that made this sound, and you could see the molecules of sand moving into these incredible shapes,
or water.
Or water.
Well, that's the cymatics and that's the beauty of frequencies. When we talk about raising our vibration,
Yeah.
You know, when people say, oh, I'm raising my vibration, I'm becoming more aware, I'm becoming more conscious. And, you know, whenever you're leveling up to from one vibration to another, you're increasing your vibration. And when that happens, um, things change. Things change physically in your body. And you could see that in the cymatics. When you put sand on a plate and you have a tone, it's one shape, right? And then you increase the frequency to a higher vibration, everything will get all disarrayed and messed up. And then eventually, quickly, it makes a brand new pattern that is much more intricate and complex.
Wow.
And that is, it's the beauty and the complexity of that structure as you increase your vibration. And I feel like right now, and like, I don't know, now in the way the world is, or even now today at this moment in time, you're always going through different levels. Your vibrations are always changing, and we're in the mess. I feel like we're in the mess right now, and then we're trying to like level up and restructure to a higher level. You
Yeah.
know,
I think practically, I feel like there's so many things, just reminders really. You know, I just said earlier that totally a participant in my own inability to regulate stress, frequencies, anger, those kinds of things. And I think for all of us humans, there's going to be some level of that. Like, oh, today was a good day. Today was not a good day. Tomorrow will be a better day. How can we how can we check in with our cats on this? You know, we talk about how sensitive they are to our energy. We just saw it playing that video of the cats purr, and Friday just coming in here, purring, rubbing up on us. They're so sensitive to it. What are some practical tips for us, regardless of the good day or the bad day, or how we check ourselves before we wreck ourselves with many of the tools that you just shared? What are some ways that we can check in with our cats to help make sure that we are keeping the most wonderful time of the year,
Yeah.
stress-free? You mentioned earlier, urinary blockages, GI upset. These are some very
One of our
common things
friends,
that you see
one
during
of
this
our
time of
friends
year.
2 nights ago emailed or texted us that they were at the ER because their male cat had blocked.
yeah. Well, I think awareness is a big thing, right? Is to be aware of the animal, you know, to check in like every day. Because I feel like sometimes we get into this pattern of this rut of, you know, doing and to-do lists and stuff that we just, you know, we go, we feed, we leave, we go to work, we come back, we feed, and before you know it, the cat hasn't peed in 24 hours and you never even knew.
Right.
Right. And I get that. Like if you have a lot of cats in the house, you don't know who's peeing. You're not always on top of your animal's behaviors. But so, you know, you got to give yourself a little leeway and, you know, not, you know, self-flagellate because you didn't see your cat go to the bathroom,
Right.
you know, and you missed it. So, you know, but to like, I feel like it's at least people like when they feed their animals, they're with them, right? At least twice a day, you know, in the mornings or feeding times or at night. There's always a moment in the day where you can take the time to connect with your animal.
Yep.
And what I would do in that moment is to, when you're sitting with them, just have the intention of checking in with them and also checking in with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and I would probably say check in with yourself first. Right. And then, yeah, right, kind of clear the slate a little bit, you know, check in with your how you're feeling, you know, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, kind of go in, do a quick checklist where you're at, and no judgment, just honor that. Honor where you're at. You know, if you're feeling shitty, you know, or you're feeling stressed, you're feeling, you know, I don't know, just honor that. Don't fight it and be with it and say, okay, you know, I am sad. I'm sad. I'm sad, or I'm angry, or I'm upset, or I'm, you know, or I feel great and I'm full of joy and I'm elated, I'm excited, like whatever it is, just be honest with yourself And then check in with your cat. Like, well, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? And just wait for a response. And the only way you're going to be able to hear your animal respond to you is if you're clear.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you have all this stuff coming in, you're going to misinterpret what's happening.
Right.
Right. And so you have to be clear. I mean, in shamanic medicine, we call that being a hollow bone.
A
Your
hollow.
bone- a hollow bone.
Okay.
Your bones are just this hollowness where there's a conduit of love frequency that comes in, and there's nothing to you except openness. And so whatever's in front of you, you can sense in a very clean way. And when we sense things, everybody senses things differently. And this is something everyone could practice. Some people will get body feels. Some people will get images in their mind. Some people will get words that come up. And so have fun with this and don't question what happens. Don't question it. Just go with it and see. Try to tune in to yourself so that you can tune into your animals. And breathe. When you start to breathe with your pet, they're going to relax and breathe with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of cats would like to connect their third eyes together with your head butts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that's like I see you, moments.
Like this
I
one.
love that.
I love that you use the terminology or the
This one almost
shamanic
does
term of the hollow bone, because I have done this, and it makes me think of Mr. Biddles, who has since passed, but he was such a sweet boy. And I remember so many times asking him verbally, how you feeling? How you doing? What's going on, bud? And then if I was in a state where I had not checked in with myself first, it was literally just that I forgot to listen. I wasn't present. There was no conduit to even receive a message, right? And the next thing I know, I'm working on something else and never even checked in on him. Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Even though
I
you
love
said
that
the
he
words.
was right,
Yeah.
even though I said the words.
But then when you were,
and I felt like he was such a gentle teacher in the way that he would come remind me in some ways, like, hello, you know what I mean?
you asked me a question and you didn't listen to the answer.
Rude.
Right. So I'm going to go pee on the laundry. So that I know you didn't hear me, but I'm going to go.
Right.
Yep.
But I think it's so, I love some of these practical ideas. And I know, sometimes we have these amazing conversations with you. I literally feel like I just learned 15 things that's going to make tomorrow
Every time.
or the next moment so amazing. And then I'm like, what did Dr. Barrie say about A, B, or C? Or,
this is recorded.
I feel like
so we can go back.
Yeah, but I do feel like some of these practical, like the square breathing, the taking a moment to check in with yourself before you check in with your pet, and really listening. Those moments alone, I think, will help ground us.
Yeah.
Through the season.
Well, for me, it's the sound thing too. I've always been very big into music therapy. So depending on where I'm at and where my mood is and what I'm thinking, I'm listening to music that will uplift that at, whatever it is. Like right now, I had a happy day. I woke up and I was like, yay. And I listened to Christmas music all day, like Frank Sinatra, holiday radio, right? Like I just, and it lifts me up. But sometimes it's like Enya, and sometimes it's, it's all over the spectrum of like, oh, here I am, and this is the kind of music I want to listen to. I think that's I think that is something also that we can tap into, the humming. And I know Rita Hogan was on, I think, Inside Scoop or something recently, and she had said the same thing. She said, breathe and hum. And then she said, and I also whistle. Like it helps me, like whistling. And you said singing too,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I can't whistle, so I'm not a good whistler. So
I'm not a great whistler, but I will whistle sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll just actually find myself whistling. I didn't even know I was like I wasn't planning on whistling. I just start whistling a song. And, but that vibration, I can feel that like frequency, like moving. I can feel the vibration changing as I, sing. Smiling is another thing that I learned years ago, back when I was in my, young 20s depression age, is literally looking in the mirror every morning and smiling, even when I didn't feel like it, smiling. And then it would make me laugh because I'm like, and like it just like I'm choosing in the mirror, and that's weird. And so I would laugh, or dancing, or like whatever it is that makes you feel better. You might have to force yourself, because you might not feel like doing that. You might not feel like turning on music. You might not feel like humming. You might not feel like, and like you said, sit with it, be sad, be, whatever, accept that. But if you want to get out of it, if you want your cats to be, if you want the home and everything to be happier, if you want it to be more peaceful or with holiday cheer, then use some of these techniques. Breathe,
Yeah.
hum, whistle, sing,
Well,
dance.
and another thing too is aromatherapy, right? Don't forget about smells, because even if if you don't want to put on the music, and you don't want to smile, and you don't want to dance, and then you light that candle that smells of this beautiful fragrance, whether it's floral or earthy tones, or something, then you're like, oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
Like there are like fragrances such as cedar and sandalwood, frankincense, lavender, lang lang. Like those scents are very parasympathetic, that naturally will start your parasympathetic system to going. And then everyone has like a certain smell. Like every time I smelled like freshly baked bread, like that smell of bread or toast,
Yep.
it puts me in the happiest place, no matter where I am.
Me too. I have made so much pumpkin bread lately, and I don't even like to eat it. I haven't had a slice. I haven't had one slice, but I have
Not a
made
full slice. She's
but
a
I
bite
have
of mine.
I had a bite of hers. But I love that smell so much that I will make pumpkin bread just so the house smells like pumpkin bread, and it will smell like pumpkin bread for like half of the day at least.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
the
our
whole.
animals, they smell so much more than us.
Yep.
Their ability to hear is so much higher. Cats have a frequency range. I think it's 45 hertz to 77 kilohertz, which is really high pitch. Our range is about, the low end is similar, but the high range for us is 19 kilohertz, as
Wow.
compared to a cat, which is 77 kilohertz. So they can hear very high frequencies. So, you got to keep in mind that this, everything, all the sensory things affects your physiology, whether it's the sounds, the smells, right? The touch, when you're petting, and you have to like, you just, it's all related, and and the energies that you're putting out there. And I think if we can just, I don't know, make a list of your favorite smells, make a list of your favorite songs, make a list of your favorite I don't know, a book to read or a movie to watch, or just so you can have a list that's there, and then share the song and the smell with your cats.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you so much. I want to give a shout out to Mary here as well. She lost her little one today, and had to help transition her kitty today.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like it's purposeful in some way that Talisha and Mary are both here today. I feel like all of us, no matter how joyful you might feel at this moment, or how many awesome smells and sounds and all the things, there is someone that we're missing. And I love how you say to be with ourselves and without judgment. And I do think in the sadness too, sometimes there's such profound joy. It's different, right?
Yeah.
But such profound joy that you can find in the sadness.
Mhm.
for the life that you still love and that you had
Right.
an opportunity to be with, especially at this time of year. I know that I would probably slap myself if someone said that to me in my moment of profound grief, but
You wouldn't
I
slap
love the
yourself,
way
you'd
I
slap
love the
someone
way
else.
yeah. But I love the way that in all of this, whether it is acknowledging our stress, acknowledging our sadness, how you really remind us to not be judgmental about it, to just to be honest with ourselves and to be with ourselves.
Yeah. And to have
Um,
grace with ourselves.
Right. Feel all your feels and give yourself permission to do so.
Yep.
And it's okay because it's going to change. It's going to change, and you're just going to honor the moment, and feel the love, because we have sadness because we feel so much love.
Yeah.
yeah.
If we didn't love, we wouldn't be sad.
Correct. That is correct.
Facts.
Yep.
Everything that you mentioned too about just like setting a table or having a moment, playing a song, having a scent, taking that time to acknowledge your sense of loss is incredible. And that's just not just for sense of loss. That's for when I do start feeling really irritable about something, to kind of change the frequency a bit and to honor how my body deals with stress and how that affects every being in my environment, including my
Sphere
cats.
of influence.
Right. And how to check in on myself and everyone that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the bigger picture of that is that everything always changes, right? Everything will change. You won't be sad forever. You just won't. And it's all okay.
It's all okay. Yes.
I don't have a single tattoo, and this is not for this podcast, but for some upcoming podcast with Dr. Barrie Sands, Cocktails and BS, it's all okay has been a thing in my head since the privilege we had of you in our home many, many months ago. I don't even know
It's
how
March.
long. March, yeah.
Too long.
Because it hits so deep on so many levels in the context of that. So maybe we just need to do a whole podcast
on we're all okay.
It's all okay.
Yeah.
Because that is a really good thing to remember during this holiday season.
It is. It is.
Can I do a shout out to my book?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. So this book would be a great holiday gift. It's called The Stupid Things My Human Does.
Oh, yes.
I love this book.
I don't know. I think this is backwards, right?
No, it's not backwards here.
Oh,
that's Queso.
So this is Senior Queso. He wrote the book. I helped him write it, but he wrote it. And it's really about stories of, animal stories coming into the ER and how to prevent that. So there's some holiday stories in there, Christmas stories, and let's see if I can get a picture.
We have this book. We love this book. Where can everyone find this book now?
They can get it on Amazon.
The Stupid Things My Human Does.
Yeah, The Stupid Things My Humans. Here's a cat. Let's see. This is one little story. I don't know if you can see that.
I can. Yes. Oh, I love it. Yes.
Great holiday
that is
gift.
a great idea. Yeah. So Amazon, go to Amazon, The Stupid Things My Human Does, written by none other than Senior Queso, Dr. Barrie Sands' cat, who's just a brilliant cat in general.
Someday we're gonna come.
Yeah. We're gonna come. We're gonna come soon and steal Senior Queso.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're just gonna...
I do see a bunch of people that come in for reasons that are in this book, and I'm like, if you just read the book, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's a must-have. You know what? Buy it for yourself this year.
Yeah, put it in your own
gift
stocking, or give it to Santa to put in your stocking.
Yeah, let's do that. Oh my gosh, Dr. Barrie Sands, thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful December evening.
Every time we see you, you raise our frequencies.
You really do.
Every time.
You do. And thank you all.
You do the same for me, right? Because it's a resonance. I just feel so much better when I'm here.
Operation Amplification.
Yes, amplification.
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 You knew what I mean.
All right.
Amplification.
All right. We love you all.
Uh,
Happy day. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And we will see you all very soon. Mwah.
Yes. See you soon. Thank you for spending your time with us.
Thank
love you, Dr. Barrie. Good night, everybody.